Shocked when I found out who the biggest failure in the Bible actually is. Okay. You know, everybody asks you, say, who's the biggest failure? They say, Judas. Somebody else will say, no, I believe it's Adam. Well, how about the devil? He's the most consistent failure.
Okay.
But he's not the biggest in terms of material failure and so forth. The biggest one in the whole Bible is God.
Need to remember that we are followers of Jesus Christ, and his life, humanly speaking, ended in failure, the failure of the cross. And his life, humanly speaking, ended in failure, the failure of the cross. Humanly speaking, ended in failure, the failure of the cross. Failure of the cross.
A white preacher would say it like this: and God is able to make all grace abound towards you, that you always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every good work. Can I get a witness? That's white people. But if I preach at one of the brothers' churches, one of the bishops, and God, I say, the Lord, oh, you ain't hearing me, believe I'll go over here a while. And the Lord, and God.
How does President Obama get to 270 electoral votes? Well, his clearly strongest voter group is African Americans, and hundreds of preachers and other religious leaders are going to get a pep talk of sorts from members of the Congressional Black Caucus on how to combat the recent rise in voter ID laws. I'm joined now by the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, Democrat from Missouri, who is also an ordained minister. Congressman, it's good to see you. Good morning.
Good to be with you.
So you've got this big summit tomorrow. Essentially, what is your message to several hundred clergy members, I understand, who will be there?
Yes, we'll have representatives from 9 denominations who actually pastor somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 million people. And we're going to, first of all, equip them with the information they need to know about what they can say and what they cannot say in the church that would violate their 501c3 status with the IRS. In fact, we're going to have the IRS administrator there. We're going to have the Attorney General, Eric Holder, there. We're going to have the lawyers organization from around the country, the ACLU, all giving ministers guidance on what they can and cannot do, them with the information they need to know about what they can say and what they cannot say in the church that would violate their 501c3 status with the IRS. In fact, we're going to have the IRS administrator there. We're going to have the Attorney General, Eric Holder, there. We're going to have the lawyers organization from around the country, the ACLU, all giving ministers guidance on what they can and cannot do.
Hello, good people. It's Rob. So the two biggest leaders of the so-called Christian world have both said that both the Father and the Son are failures. Now, surely, people, you do not think this is a coincidence, do you? The two horns of the Lamb, they appear one way, but when you take the mask off, you see them for what they are. They are devils. They speak as dragons. Now, the 501c3 church, I've written many articles, and I have reference to the 501c3 church in many videos. Now, you notice the man said that we would tell them what they can and cannot say. This is the modern church that so many defend, and they equate it to Jesus Christ. The word church means to be called out and to be separate, ecclesia. Now, I ask you, how could any free-thinking person who loves Jesus Christ sit their ass in a church and then think they are called out and separate? I'm going to school a person, and I'm going to educate some. In Revelation 13, 11 through 12, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now this beast is not Catholicism. The 2 horns my friends. Let me help you understand. The beast, as referred to here as he's, they're not actual men. Now, this is how many naive people will teach the scriptures. This is symbolic. Okay, you have learned the truth. We have to have prayer to read the Bible and not take everything literally, or you won't know nothing. Okay, these are not men, just as the whore of Babylon is not an actual woman. Okay, the two horns of the lamb are Catholicism and Protestantism. They look as a lamb, they look gentle and harmless, but they speak as a dragon. Moreover, these two entities give power to the first beast who has recovered from its deadly wound. Babylon, it was alive, it had the power. It received a wound. It's back, and it runs the world. And no, it's not Catholicism. Catholicism is a whore of Babylon. Do you understand? The beast that it's being referred here is the six-pointed star. Okay, that's the truth of it. I want to show you something. When you notice this man talking about the 501c3 church, I want to show you a few requirements of the 501c3 church, because I have written about the 501c3 church. This is put out by the Department of Treasury, the Internal Revenue Service. Now, this is just a short list of what it takes to be a part of the 501c3 church. If you are a church, this is what you must adhere to, and all of them do. 1, you must be incorporated, be a business. 2, you must have a recognized creed and IRS approved form of worship. Yes, an IRS approved form of worship. Have IRS approved code of doctrine. Have ordained ministers that are educated in state accredited colleges. You have to go to the Babylonian schools. You see, you can't have someone like me teach, even though, and I humbly say this, even though it may not sound humble, I can walk in a 100-mile radius. I could go to any church and literally embarrass every pastor there. Are they going to sit down with me and open up the Bible and know more than me? Not hardly. Not on their best day and my worst. They must be neutral on political issues. Neutral. They can't speak up for what's right or wrong. Have tax exempt status as issued by the IRS. The pastor must answer to the IRS as to the daily activities of the church. You see, they must answer to Babylon, period. The IRS must be privy to all financial transactions of the church. Now, when you see the word IRS, think banking, because that's what they're answering to. They're answering to the Babylonian bankers. The pastors must supply names of all donors and make books and their records available. The church may only use IRS-approved fundraising methods. Number 11, the pastor will be called to account over any stand taken against the tax system. Number 12, the church must advocate and support racial integration, the multicultural stance. The church may not engage in activities opposing pornography, and we know who is behind pornography. 14, they may not support legislation saying children belong to parents rather than the state. May not form a political action committee nor support legislation opposing lotteries and gambling activity. May not oppose the public school system. May not publicly declare we are to obey God rather than the government. These are but a few requirements for the 501c3 churches. Now, most businesses, the small businessmen of today, cannot operate at a profit today because of taxes. In fact, most small businessmen are either forced to cheat on their taxes and lie, or to simply make ends meet, or they simply cannot go into business for themselves. Everybody knows if you work that the government will take anywhere between 30 to 40% of your money. Therefore, the Babylonians, which stole our gold in 1933, started the federal. Meanwhile, Bible-reading Christian homeschoolers are prosecuted. Their children taken away because the government believes that unsupervised reading of the Bible or the Constitution are somewhat dangerous. Well, guess what? They're right. For when you read the Bible and pray without the blinders of organized religion, you start to realize the truth. You start to realize that everything they've told you is a damn lie. And you start to realize that you're in a constant battle against evil to maintain your freedom and your loyalty to Jesus Christ. Now, a guy who used to be a sub on my channel named Truth Cuts Like a Knife, formerly Sword of Truth, he posted a comment last week on my last last video that I did, and I found the comment to be asinine and childish. I replied, another person replied to him, then he deleted his comment, he took his ball, and he went home. Now, a sub of mine said that he made a couple videos and he's referenced me in his videos. Well, brother, you ain't important enough for me to be making a video about you. But let me say this. I've had issues with him and some other people telling me that I'm too unfair on the church. Okay? Their churches are special. They are unique. They baptize. They worship Jesus. They fellowship. And their children are taught about Jesus Christ. All in a 501c3 church. You don't have a church, man. What you have is a town meeting. It's a picnic. Ain't got nothing to do with Jesus Christ. Nothing. Now, he also made the comment telling me that by condemning the church was the same as saying all black people go to hell. You see, I could only shake my head at this asinine folly and wonder what is he trying to do here. You see, this is the mind of the double-minded people that James talks about. And I was also slowly getting tired of him and a few other people with their pro-Hitler nonsense. Listen, if Hitler is your hero, this channel is not for you. It's not. It's not for you. I have one hero. His name is Jesus. That's it. I know white people are being persecuted. I don't need a monster piece of shit devil like Hitler. I don't need to run to that. I run to Jesus Christ. Now, I am aware that somewhere across this earth, and even in Western culture countries, there are a few scant non-501c3 churches. Very few. And I know they speak out and they tell the truth. They're very, very few, though. In fact, you will hardly find any of them. They meet in churches. They meet in basements, just as they did 2,000 years ago, and they meet on the internet. So am I being too hard on the modern church and the people who call themselves churchgoers? Are they glorifying Jesus Christ, or are they glorifying the Father? Well, let me ask you a question. I'm just going to ask you, the churchgoer, just a few pertinent questions. Will your church acknowledge who true Israel is? Who killed Jesus Christ? Who did Jesus Christ call the synagogue of Satan? Who is responsible for the Federal Reserve and the deflating of the dollar since 1913? Will your church touch that? Remember, your church is different. They're separate. They're doing God's work. Will your church acknowledge the destruction of the family? Will your church acknowledge the 50 to 70 million men, women, and children who were brutally murdered, tortured, raped, and left destitute in Russia in what we call the Bolshevik Revolution? I'm asking you, boy, will your church touch that? Will your church acknowledge who has funded and openly supported the devil's children and their agenda to bring wave after wave of non-Israelites into Western cultured countries? Will your church acknowledge that they have played a major role in funding and supporting the flood of non-Israelites into Western cultured countries? Revelation chapter 12. The church plays a huge role in it. Will your church acknowledge the tragedy of our people in South Africa? Will your church acknowledge those behind the suppression of our freedom of speech? Will your church acknowledge that devils exist in the flesh? I sure of hell has shown it. I've taught it. We know it's a reality. Will your church acknowledge the hatred toward white people? Will your church acknowledge that the majority of jobs have been shipped to China, India, Mexico, and every other country but here? Will your church acknowledge the poisons put in our food, water, and every aspect of our lives? Even children's baby formula is contaminated with poison. Will your church acknowledge the chemtrails in our skies? Will your church, I'm talking to you, boy, will your church acknowledge the poisons in vaccines and how it's becoming mandatory to poison our children or be left out? Now, these are just a few issues that the churches will not dare touch. And this person has the audacity to come to where the truth is being taught and question me about the church. The Almighty Father is sending messengers to warn his people to come out of the modern whore Babylon church. Of all the tools of the evil of this world that has been used to destroy the individual and society, none has been more effective than the false church. In the past 100 years, the pace has quickened by monumental leaps. The majority of modern churchgoers and churches are nothing more than $2 harlots, prostitutes, and pimps. It does not matter if it's Catholic or Protestant, they both serve the same master. And it is not the Father of the Holy Bible, nor his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. It is not. At one time, in this country and many parts of the world, the church was truly a place for the children of the kingdom to gather and to fellowship. Communities made important decisions, and people spoke freely about all things at the church. They actually stood up to evil. You see, there was a time that the church, the people, which means to be called out separate, they actually would stand up to evil. People gathered and they worshiped the Almighty Father through his beloved Son, Jesus Christ. The word of the Almighty Father was the most important part of the church, of the gathering. The Almighty Father chose the teachers to lead his flock and help his children understand his word. Churchgoers gave what they could afford to children, the widows, the sick, and those in need. Pastors did not become rich, nor was anything remotely preached as the prosperity gospel. Church used to be sacred, and respect was expected of everyone who attended. Now, I'm not referring to the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is the mother of harlots, and the modern so-called Christian churches are her daughters. Catholicism has always been based on lies, greed, deception, murder, torture, and pure filth, and it has not changed in almost 1700 years. I am referring to the small pockets of churches scattered throughout the world, which truly loved and served their Father through Jesus Christ. Now, these churches, they had to meet in hiding, in secret, because they were persecuted by Catholicism, the Jews, Muslims, and pagan religions. Even today, true believers meet in secret at people's homes, in makeshift churches, or even on the internet. Why? Because we are persecuted. We are told that we are bad. Yet the people who roll into the 501c3 churches believe they are the flock. What a rude awakening. What a rude awakening they have coming. Folks are being called out of the whore of Babylon church. Many folks have to worship alone at first. They have to go through a process of finding their way to find other brothers and sisters that they can fellowship with, because they will soon realize it's not in the church. The vast majority of the internet churches, the religious websites, and the majority of the YouTubers who claim that they preach the gospel are equally as evil as the church. You see, they are just a tentacle of the church who serves the six-pointed star. Modern church has become a playground. It's an amusement park. It's a place for people to get together and amuse themselves. And that's what it is. It's an amusement park. It's a picnic. It's a gathering. It has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. Church has become a den of thieves. It's a serpent's nest. You see, uncontrollable laughing, convulsing, mocking, fake healings. And you will always hear them talking about how they're healing this one and this one got healed. Bring people with cameras and let us see the healings. You see, the stars of the modern churches, be it Catholic or any other church denomination, are money and deceit. You see, the naivete and ignorance and lustful desire for wealth and entertainment have ushered in a new religion. It is a false church full of lies. It has made the Bible believer and the Christians the equivalent of false religions worshiping false gods, the same thing that the Israelites were doing thousands of years ago. Now, this deceit is by design, and the Almighty Father has allowed it to happen for a reason. Again, your Father allows it to happen because, just as Jesus Christ said, he is dividing the world. His sheep, his children on the right, the goats on the left. The vast majority of this wicked world are under a strong delusion, and no one can remove this delusion except the Almighty Father himself. Nobody. If the Father has blinded you, only the Father can take it away. Church has become a gathering place. That's all it is. The few that are there are lukewarm, or else they wouldn't be there. You see, they would not be there. And these are the same folks that sit in the churches and watch all the YouTube videos. They chase false doctrines, entertainment, ear-tickling words, circus acts, superstitions, omens, folklore, and the constant seeking of money and pleasure. Constant. You see, the modern 501c3 churches destroy you spiritually and benefit from you financially. You struggle to pay your bills, and they become rich from your ignorance and your naivete. They hypnotize spiritually weak people with lies while doing it under the cloak of so-called love. You see, the church has exalted their teachers above their false teachers, above Jesus Christ. And the majority of churchgoers will quickly defend their pastor and their church, but they will not defend Jesus Christ. The damage caused by the church to men, women, children, individuals, families, and nations, and the cause of the kingdom is beyond words, and they will be made to pay in a way that I cannot put into words. What the church is, folks, it's a waterfall of lies and deceit, constant. I want to give you a first church experience. Imagine a poor individual and or family who have made the decision to follow Jesus Christ. They come to the church. They've found them a church, and they want to learn about Jesus Christ. They're decent folk. They just want to learn more about their Creator. Now, when they arrive at church, they learn 3 rules of the Babylonian 501c3 church. You must give money to be blessed. You must love and support the state of Israel even above your own family, and you must never speak out against evil. Now, this family, this is their first church experience, or this individual. Now, after the so-called church service is over, this will be their last church experience, you see, because they have learned the truth about church, and they will be forever put off by maybe even Christianity. You see, this is what the church does to people. Let me read you some verses in closing about the church. 1 Peter 4:17, judgment will begin at the house of God. 2 Peter 2:3, and through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you. Churches, YouTube, movies, corporations, they do it with feigned words. And the word feigned means fake or false. 2 John 1:10, if there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. You don't even say God bless to these monsters. 1 John 4:1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. Because many, notice the word many, false prophets are gone out into the world. Matthew 7:15, words of Jesus Christ. Again, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. 2 Peter 2:1, but there were false prophets also among you, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that hath bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Matthew 24:24, for there shall arise false Christ and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Romans 16:18, for they that are such serve not our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. They prey on the naive folks. Ephesians 4:14, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men, and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Read it again on your own, what it's saying. You can't be tossed about with false doctrine by cunning devils who lie in wait to deceive you. 1 Timothy 4:1, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. If you're following Hitler, man, if you're following the church, a seducing spirit has got hold of you. 2 Timothy 4:3-4, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. The people, the churchgoers, will depart from the faith and follow liars. Acts chapter 20, 29-30. For I know this is Paul, talking about when Paul leaves, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. 2 Corinthians 11:13-15. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. 15. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Jeremiah 15:17. I sat not in the assembly of the mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone because of thy hand, for that thou hast filled me with indignation. Jude 1:18. How that they told you there should be mockers in the last time, who should walk after their own ungodly lust. Matthew 7:21. Pay attention, brethren. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. You see, churchgoers, family, and the enemy are going to turn on the true flock. Matthew 10:21. And the brother shall deliver up brother to death, and the father the child, and children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Luke 21:16. And ye shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren, kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they be caused to be put to death. Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Come out of Babylon. The true teachers of the Holy Word do not tickle your ears. They prick your heart, and they convict your spirit. They open the scriptures and they show you the truth. And they are not in 501c3 churches, and they are not lovers of Hitler or Babylon. And when you find one, your spirit will tell you the truth if your spirit is right with Jesus the Christ. Now, I promised you guys that I would do a video. My next video would be what happens, life after death, the truth about heaven and hell. I've had to put that off, and I will get started on it now. About half of it's done. And there's another video I'm going to do after that. So if you guys will just be patient with me, I will get them out to you. I hope this video has helped some of you, and I hope you will see the truth, that we are to be separated as much as we possibly can be. May the Father bless you all in the name of the only name, Jesus the Christ.